For a whole generation of gamers, A Link to the Past was their first journey into Hyrule. It's pixel perfect, tightly designed and endlessly replayable, although despite its status some fans believe it is time to bring it back. Not just a port, not just a new coat of paint, but a full remake. Others however see that as sacrilege, so I asked the community, should Nintendo remake A Link to the Past or leave it untouched as the masterpiece that it already is? Well, if you enjoyed the video, hit that subscribe button down below for even more Zelda content here on Triforce Times, and stick around to the end of the video for an exclusive offer to channel members. Well, for many fans, A Link to the Past is not just a game, it is the Zelda game of their childhood, the one that introduced them to Hyrule's magic, to dungeon crawling, to the feeling of discovering secrets just off the beaten path. It's remembered not just for its mechanics or the map design, but for the way it made people feel. As one community member put it, it was my first true Zelda love. You know, that kind of emotional connection is very hard to replicate, and even harder to justify changing. Unlike some older titles that struggle with modern expectations, A Link to the Past remains remarkably accessible. It's tight, it's fast, it never wastes your time. Another community member commented that it's not archaic or obtuse in any way, and another suggested it even could be released as an indie game today and still get glowing reviews. That is not just nostalgia talking, that's smart design that has aged gracefully. Now, some players flat out don't want a remake, not just because they're resistant to change, but because they believe A Link to the Past is already as good as it needs to be. They worry that a modern remake might sand down its rough edges, strip away its pixel charm, or reinterpret something sacred. As one community member put it, it's not a Disney remake, it's art. That sentiment echoes a larger fear that in chasing the graphical upgrades we might lose the soul of what made the original so timeless. And what's striking is how many fans talk about the experience of playing A Link to the Past. Not just what they did, but how it made them feel. That moment of discovering the dark world for the first time, finding the hookshot in the dungeon, and for older players these aren't just regular memories, they're formative. A remake might recreate the mechanics, but could it ever recreate those feelings? Well, next up, let's have a look at the desire for innovation. So not everybody wants to revisit the past. For a large group of fans, the idea of remaking A Link to the Past feels like Nintendo taking the easy route. They've seen too many remakes and remasters lately and they're craving something fresh. And one community member commented and saying it bluntly, please do new stuff, and another echoed their sentiments saying they want new stories that strive to be as good as A Link to the Past, not just stories that try to recreate it. There's also a clear hunger for a return to linear, narrative-driven 3D Zelda adventures, something that's been largely absent since Skyward Sword. One fan put it plainly that we desperately need new 3D games with linear stories and real dungeons, and the message is loud and clear. While A Link to the Past is cherished, there's a strong desire to see Zelda evolve forward and not circle back. You know, some Zelda fans even feel like a remake could be a wasted opportunity, not because they dislike the original game, but because other Zelda titles need the spotlight more. For example, the Oracle games come up repeatedly as being overdue for a modern update. One community member pointed out that the Oracle games flesh out the Golden Goddesses more than any other game and expand the Zelda world with new nations like Holodrum and Labrynna. In their eyes, a remake of A Link to the Past would be nice, but remaking the Oracle games would be really important. So there is a creative tension here. The Zelda series has got one of the richest legacies in gaming, but many fans don't want to dwell on that legacy forever. They're asking Nintendo to take risks again, to surprise them, to challenge them, to deliver something that they've never seen before. You know, a remake might be comforting, but a bold new Zelda, well, that could be unforgettable. Well, next up we got the crowd that says yes, but only if. So while some fans say no outright, there is a large vocal group sitting in the middle. Fans who would welcome a remake of A Link to the Past, but only if it brings something truly new to the table. These aren't people asking for a prettier version with modern lighting, they're asking for ambition, a full ground up reimagining, One community member said they would love a ground-up remake, not a fresh coat of paint. Another suggested expanding the story, adding new dungeons, and even shifting the perspective into full 3D. Well, the Link's Awakening remake on Switch serves as a warning for some of these players. A few fans outright despise the toy-like art style and have begged Nintendo not to repeat it. I would hate it if it was in the Link's Awakening remake art style, said one community member, while another added bluntly, I don't ever want to see that again. For them, the look and feel of the remake is just as important as what is added. If it's going to be remade, it needs to feel rich, alive, artistically serious, and not like a diorama. Some fans view a remake as a gateway, a way to bring A Link to the Past to a new generation of players who may never have touched the original. One community member put it could be a cool thing to introduce new generations, and I would play it again, like they did with Link's Awakening. But even among these supporters there's caution. The remake has to respect the original's legacy, while being bold enough to stand on its own. Well, next up I wanted to mention Dungeons of Infinity. So this is a fan-made roguelike, really good. So Nintendo could breathe life into A Link to the Past, not by remaking it, but by reimagining it in the style of a roguelike, taking cues from the fan-made Zelda Dungeons of Infinity. So instead of the fixed overworld and the carefully created dungeons of A Link to the Past, this approach would present procedurally generated dungeon layouts, randomised enemy encounters, and shifting loot each run, ensuring that no two adventures feel the same. Permadeath or a soft version of it would add tension, forcing players to adapt on the fly while still rewarding long-term progression through unlockable gear upgrades or story elements. So this wouldn't erase the charm of A Link to the Past. Nintendo could preserve it in its iconic art style, sound design and core combat, keeping that instantly recognisable Super Nintendo era atmosphere, but injecting replayability through the modern roguelike mechanics. Nintendo could easily create an endlessly engaging experience that encourages both short bursts of play and deep extended sessions. So a format like this is going to appeal to nostalgic fans who grew up with the original, while also introducing younger players to Zelda's top-down roots in a format more aligned with today's gaming habits. Well, the game is already out there, so it is called Dungeons of Infinity. I definitely recommend having a look at it. It's available for your PC, and it's a fan-made ROM hack, essentially, of A Link to the Past, and definitely one to look out for. But if Nintendo decides to do something like this and release it on Nintendo Switch Online, maybe there's some kind of multiplayer element, I think that'd be a really good idea and breathe new life into A Link to the Past. Well, next up we've got confusion and division. So the discussion around remaking A Link to the Past isn't just divided, in some cases it is quite confused. So several fans pointed out that the game already has what could be considered a spiritual successor, and that is A Link Between Worlds. So the 3DS title reimagined the same overworld, added new mechanics like the wall merging, and introduced fresh dungeons, all while preserving that top-down style. So some argue that remaking A Link to the Past would feel redundant, and others also suggested a remake might be more about nostalgia than necessity. There's also a strange overlap between reverence and disinterest, so a few fans acknowledge that A Link to the Past is a masterpiece, but still don't think it needs a remake. One described it as nearly perfect, and another said it's good as it is, although other community members admitted they wouldn't mind a remake, but only after other titles get their moment. It's as if the game is so good it's untouchable, and that paradoxically makes it less likely to be revisited. The art style debate also adds into the muddle as well. So while some fans want a remake that resembles Link's Awakening on Switch, others passionately oppose that visual direction. The split is clearly visible. Charming and cute versus dull and cheap. The same visual approach sparks excitement for some and dread for others, and there's no consensus on what A Link to the Past should even look like if it was going to be remade today. So all of this creates quite a unique tension. People are emotionally invested, but they don't agree on what a remake should be, or what it should look like, or even whether it's needed at all. The legacy of A Link to the Past seems to inspire both admiration and hesitation, and in many cases both feelings live side by side in the same players. Well, next up, let's have a look at the business case and accessibility. So beyond nostalgia and the fan debate, there's a solid business case for remaking A Link to the Past. It's one of the most iconic games in the Zelda franchise, but a surprising number of modern players have never actually played it. So one community member confessed they still haven't opened their Super Nintendo Mini and would immediately buy a remake if it came to the Nintendo Switch. And that is a reality for a lot of younger fans or latecomers to the series. They've heard about A Link to the Past but have not experienced it, especially not in a form that feels modern or inviting. Accessibility plays a major role here, so yes, A Link to the Past is available via Nintendo Switch Online, but to casual players those options often feel buried behind subscription models, dated visuals or clunky controls. A remake would bring the game front and centre, giving it the same spotlight that Link's Awakening received, and with the right marketing it could reach a whole new audience who might have otherwise overlooked it. From Nintendo's perspective, a remake is a relatively safe bet. The structure is already proven, the story is beloved, and the development could potentially be more efficient than building an entirely new Zelda from scratch. So one community member even noted if the remake sucks, the original is still available. That safety net and the idea that nothing is being lost makes the project pretty low risk and potentially quite high reward. And let's not forget the broader trend. Nintendo has seen massive commercial success with polished, stylised remakes. The recent Paper Mario or Mario RPG, these projects often introduce old IPs to new players while re-engaging long-time fans. A Link to the Past is one of the few major Zelda titles that hasn't had the modern treatment, and from a business point of view, I reckon it would be a good idea for Nintendo. Well, finally, I want to finish up with my take on the situation. So after reading through hundreds of comments and responses on this topic, what strikes me is how much A Link to the Past still means to people. Whether they want a remake or not, everyone seems to hold this game in very high regard, and that says a lot. It's not just a great Zelda game, for many fans it is Zelda, and that's why the question of a remake is so tricky. You're not just updating code or graphics, you're touching a memory and its legacy. Personally, I do think there is room for a remake, but only if it's done with care, attention and ambition. It can't just be a visual overhaul, it can't just feel like that it was made to fill a slot with the release calendar. It needs to offer something meaningful, new content, refined storytelling and maybe even a bold shift in perspective. If Nintendo is going to revisit this classic, it has to be more than a tribute. It has to be a creative leap that stands alongside the original and not just beneath it. At the same time, I totally understand the desire from some community members for something new. So it feels like Zelda fans are perpetually waiting for the next 3D Zelda adventure, with structured dungeons and tighter storytelling, and there's also other games like the Oracle game, Zelda 1, Zelda 2 that arguably need remakes more urgently. So if Nintendo decided to skip A Link to the Past for now, I probably would not be disappointed, but if they chose to remake it, I would be watching very closely and definitely buying it on day one. Well, let me know down in the comments what you think. Do you think A Link to the Past should be remade, or do you think that would be a massive mistake and we should just keep it in the past? Let me know in the comments, I would love to hear what you think, and thank you to all of the Triforce Times community members who contributed to the polls and all the comments that you sent in and all the feedback you sent in. Thank you, really appreciate your contributions. Well, as always, thank you so much for watching or for listening. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below for even more Zelda content here on Triforce Times. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Well, thank you so much for watching the video, but today I'd like to let you know about the Triforce Times store. If you like Triforce Times content and you want to get some merchandise, then browse the online store today. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and loads more in all shapes and sizes and colours. Also, if you didn't see something on the store that you want, then let me know in the comments. Comment on the video and let me know what you want to see in the merch store, and I will make it happen. So if you enjoy Triforce Times and want to go above and beyond to support, then the store is a great place to do that. And also, you're going to get some high quality merchandise as well, so check out the Triforce Times store today with a selection of merch below each video, and you can also check out the store link in the description if you'd like to browse the whole store. But this video is brought to you by Triforce Times Backstage. This is available through Patreon or YouTube membership, and you're going to get exclusive benefits, plus you'll be able to go above and beyond to support Triforce Times. Free content is core to Triforce Times, and you can continue to enjoy these videos that you know and love. However, if you want to enjoy the benefits like early access, our community Discord, shoutouts in the credits of videos, content polls and exclusive videos, then select the tier that is right for you and join Triforce Times Backstage today. So help me make Triforce Times be even bigger and better, plus you're going to get some added benefits for a small fee every month. Well, thank you for listening, and now it is time to go back to the video.